In August 2025, John Deere notified 238 workers across the Midwest that their jobs would be ending. But the real story is not happening in Illinois or Iowa. It is unfolding right here in Texas, where dealerships are sitting on millions of dollars in unsold equipment and farmers are walking away from machines they cannot afford to buy or fix. The numbers tell a story that goes far beyond factory layoffs. They point to something bigger, something that threatens the entire foundation of American agriculture. So what is really happening, and why should every farmer in Texas be paying attention? In August 2025, John Deere made it official. 238 workers across 3 Midwest facilities would lose their jobs. The breakdown was precise. 115 layoffs at Harvester Works in East Moline, Illinois. 52 at the seeding and cylinder facility in Moline, Illinois. 71 at the Waterloo Foundry in Iowa. Each number represented a family facing sudden change, a paycheck disappearing, and a future thrown into question. These were not the first cuts. Hundreds had already disappeared at Waterloo Works and other Iowa plants throughout 2024 and earlier in 2025. The Ottawa plant faced temporary shutdowns. Davenport and Ankeny facilities scaled back production. Altogether, nearly 2,600 operations workers across 6 sites received pink slips in less than 2 years. Deere's management described the move as aligning capacity with demand. They called it proactive inventory management, adjusting output to match what farmers and dealers were actually ordering. In public statements, executives pointed to a struggling agricultural economy, lower crop prices, high input costs, and uncertainty in trade markets. They insisted these were temporary measures, with the hope that production could ramp up quickly if farm economics improved. But for those on the factory floor, the impact was immediate. A former Waterloo Foundry worker, one of the 71 let go, described the mood as grim. "We knew orders were down," he said, "but nobody thought it would hit this hard or this fast. Some folks here have been building these machines for decades. It feels like the ground just dropped out from under us. As machines rolled off the lines at a slower pace, the effects rippled outward. Fewer tractors and harvesters shipped from the Midwest meant fewer new arrivals at dealerships hundreds of miles away. For Texas, long dependent on shipments from these plants, the slowdown was more than a statistic. It was the first warning sign that the supply chain feeding one of the country's largest farm economies was under stress. Now walk onto any dealership lot in West Texas and the picture becomes clear. Rows of unsold tractors and combines crowd the gravel. Machines that once moved quickly from shipment to farm now sit idle for months. Each one ties up hundreds of thousands of dollars in inventory the dealers cannot move. One dealership manager in Lubbock, who asked not to be named, put it plainly: "We have got equipment out here that has been sitting for 6 months or more. Normally, a new planter or combine would be gone in weeks. Now farmers are not buying. They are not even coming in to look. The financial strain is real. Dealers rely on floor plan financing to stock inventory. That means they are paying interest on machines that are not selling. Every month that a piece of equipment sits unsold, the cost to carry it climbs. And when farmers stop buying, dealers stop ordering from the factory. The numbers back this up. According to the Association of Equipment Manufacturers, tractor sales in the United States dropped 14% year over year in 2024. Combined sales fell even harder, down 18%. In Texas specifically, where cotton and grain operations drive demand for high-capacity equipment, the drop was steeper. Dealers reported sales declines of 20 to 30% compared to the previous 3-year average. The reasons are straightforward. Farmers cannot afford new equipment when crop prices are in the cellar and production costs are climbing. A new cotton picker can run $500,000 or more. A high horsepower tractor easily tops $300,000. When cotton is selling for 66 cents a pound and it costs 97 cents to grow it, those kinds of purchases are off the table. So the machines sit. The dealers carry the cost, and the factories slow down because there is nowhere for the equipment to go. This is not just a Texas problem. It is a chain reaction that starts in the fields and ends with workers losing jobs in the Midwest. The dealer squeeze does not stop at unsold inventory. Service departments are seeing a shift too. Farmers who would normally trade in older equipment every few years are now nursing those machines along, trying to get one more season out of them. That means more repair work, but it also means farmers are looking for cheaper options. Some are turning to independent mechanics. Others are attempting repairs themselves, even when it means fighting against software locks and proprietary systems. One farmer near Plainview described his situation this way: "I've got a 2015 model tractor that needs work. The dealer quoted me $8,000 for the repair. I found an independent shop that could do it for $4,000, but they cannot access the diagnostic software, so I am stuck either paying double or letting the machine sit." Eventually, he said, "You start questioning whether it is worth staying in this business at all. This tension has been building for years, And it is part of why John Deere is also facing a $4.2 billion lawsuit filed by the Federal Trade Commission in January 2025. The complaint accuses Deere of monopolizing repair services by keeping essential diagnostic software exclusive to its dealer network. Farmers argue they should have the right to fix equipment they own. Deere argues the software protects safety and emission standards. The lawsuit is not the cause of the layoffs, but it adds pressure. Deere is fighting on multiple fronts, defending its business model in court while trying to navigate an agricultural economy that has turned sharply downward. And for Texas farmers, the repair issue is not abstract. It is about whether they can keep their operations running without being forced into expensive dealer-only service. To understand why Deere is cutting production, you have to look at what is happening in the fields. And nowhere is that story more dramatic than in Texas cotton. At today's prices, every cotton farmer in Texas is losing money before the first bale leaves the field. Production costs are up to 97 cents a pound, while market prices have collapsed to just 66 cents a pound. Even the most efficient operations face a break even of 82 to 90 cents per pound, according to Texas A and M AgriLife budgets and local lenders. That means every pound harvested locks in a loss, at least 20 to 24 cents below what it takes to stay afloat. The math is relentless. A decade ago, cotton prices hovered near 85 cents. Now they have fallen nearly 20 cents in less than a year. Adjusted for inflation, the value of a pound of cotton is lower than it was 60 years ago, even as the costs to grow it have soared. Since the mid-1960s, the price of farm chemicals has quadrupled. Machinery expenses have jumped sixfold. A bag of seed that once cost $30 now approaches $400. New equipment can run to $500,000 or more. No amount of efficiency can erase a 20-cent gap on every pound. For Texas cotton producers, the economic foundation has cracked. Texas stands at the center of American cotton, responsible for more than 40% of the country's entire crop. Nowhere is this dominance more visible than the Lubbock region, often called the nation's largest cotton patch. In a typical year, these fields would yield around 3.7 million bales, supporting not only local economies, but the broader supply chain that stretches across the South and beyond. But in recent seasons, the numbers have collapsed. Recent USDA production tables show that West Texas managed just 1.3 to 1.5 million bales, less than half of what was once expected. The land itself is shrinking from cotton. 1 million fewer acres are planted in 2025 compared to the recent 3-year average. And that loss is not spread evenly across the country. It is concentrated here, in the counties surrounding Lubbock, where cotton is more than a crop. It is the backbone of entire communities. A county extension agent who has spent decades working with growers across the High Plains describes the situation as unprecedented. He points to maps showing how the heart of America's cotton production has contracted, with vast stretches of farmland left fallow or converted to other uses. The math is not just a spreadsheet problem. It is visible in every empty field and every idle gin. As the region's share of national output shrinks, the risk to the entire U.S. supply chain grows. Drought has rewritten the map of West Texas cotton. In 2022, nearly half the state's cotton crop, 49%, was abandoned in the fields and never harvested. The following years brought little relief, with abandonment rates of 33% and 34% in 2023 and 2024. The losses stretch far beyond the farm gate. Texas agriculture suffered $3.4 billion in damage in 2024 alone, and cotton accounted for $1.8 billion of that total. According to NOAA and USDA data, 68% of Texas land is now classified as drought affected. In almost a third of the state, 29%, faces conditions labeled as extreme drought. The impact is direct and devastating. 2/3 of all agricultural losses in Texas in 2024 were attributed to drought and relentless heat. These figures are not isolated blips. They represent a sustained pattern of weather-driven failure. With entire regions losing their capacity to produce cotton at any scale, the weather has become the single most powerful force shaping the fate of Texas cotton, leaving fields unpicked and the state's agricultural economy exposed to unprecedented risk. So here's how it all connects. Texas farmers are losing money on every bale of cotton they produce. They cannot afford new equipment when they are already operating at a loss. Dealerships cannot sell the machines sitting on their lots. Dealers stop ordering from the factory. And John Deere, seeing demand collapse, cuts production and lays off workers. It is a chain reaction that starts with drought and low commodity prices and ends with factory closures in Iowa. But the damage does not stop there. When farmers cannot buy equipment, local economies suffer. Dealerships cut staff. Part suppliers see orders drop. Small towns that depend on agricultural spending feel the squeeze. And the longer this cycle continues, the harder it becomes to break. Farmers who are losing money year after year eventually walk away. Land gets sold or leased out. The next generation decides not to come back to the farm. Once that happens, the infrastructure that supports agriculture, the dealerships, the gens, the grain elevators, starts to disappear too. One farmer near La Mesa put it this way: "We have been through tough times before, but this feels different. It is not just one bad year. It is year after year of losses with no clear path forward. At some point, you have to ask yourself if it is worth the fight." The question now is whether this is a temporary downturn or a structural shift. Deere is betting on a recovery, calling the layoffs temporary and promising to ramp up production if demand returns. But that recovery depends on commodity prices rebounding, weather patterns improving, and farmers regaining the financial footing to invest in new equipment. Right now, none of those factors are trending in the right direction. Cotton prices remain depressed. Drought conditions persist across West Texas, and input costs continue to climb. The Federal Reserve's interest rate policies have made borrowing more expensive, adding another layer of pressure on farmers who rely on operating loans to get through the season. Some industry analysts are predicting that equipment sales will not recover to previous levels for at least 2 to 3 years. Others believe the market has fundamentally changed and that the peak years of equipment sales in the early 2020s may not return at all. For Texas farmers, the message is clear. The equipment they need is available, but they cannot afford it. The repairs they need are possible, but they are locked behind expensive dealer-only service. And the crops they grow are losing money before they even leave the field. So what does this mean for you? If you are farming in Texas right now, you are living this story every day. The decisions you make about equipment, about which crops to plant, about whether to keep farming at all, those are not just personal choices. They are part of a larger economic shift that is reshaping American agriculture. The John Deere layoffs are a symptom, not the cause. They are the visible result of an agricultural economy under pressure from every direction. And until something changes, whether it is commodity prices, weather patterns, or the cost structure of modern farming, the pressure is only going to increase. Here is what I want to know. Are you seeing this same equipment squeeze at your local dealership? Are you holding off on purchases you would normally make? And how are you managing repairs when dealer costs keep climbing? Drop a comment and let me know what you are seeing in your area. If this video helped you understand what is really happening in the equipment market, hit that subscribe button. We will keep tracking this story as it develops. Thanks for watching.